This is episode 56 of This Makes Me Happy. Welcome to This Makes Me Happy, a podcast about people and what makes them happy. I'm your host, Bernardo Margulis. I'm a designer, art director, and educator, and I'm the principal of This Makes Me Happy, a design studio where I help my clients with branding and visual communications. I'm very happy to present This Makes Me Happy, the podcast, where each week I chat with a different person about what makes them happy. My guests come from all walks of life, and each of them shares their own personal happy stories. Join us every week for a unique conversation. Hello. Today I am very happy to have Lonnie Ogulnick. He is the founder and CEO of Gordon Wealth and the author of The Heart of a Beast. Hi, Lonnie. How are you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good, and happy to be talking with you. Else from that introduction, is there anything you want people to know about you?
Yeah, just I'm a hard scrabble. Didn't come from much money. Worked my way up Wall Street. Had a little something to give back. So I wrote The Heart of a Beast. That was something I decided to do if I ever got out of a little hole I was in back in my youth right after college. So recently, this January of 2017, I published The Heart of a Beast. And it's a guide, it's a blueprint for surviving in the lone wolf economy. It's a little brief synopsis from my point of view. And I think it's a great book, but you'll have to read it to find out.
Great. And I'm sure there's part of what you were saying, working hard and making it as part of the story.
Yeah, everything's in there. You know, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to go after things in life, if you're going to even climb the corporate ladder, there's a little bit in there for everybody.
Cool. And hopefully the story develops as we talk, but I want to move to the main question for today. And I want to ask you, Lonnie, what makes you happy?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I think that, happiness really is broken down into two scenarios. I think there's the physical, the monetary, the part of money that makes you happy, you know, something where you could spend and it's a quick fix type happiness. But I think the longer lasting happiness, the happiness that hits your core or hits your soul and has a more meaningful, long lasting, on your persona and who you become as a person would be, physical, activity. What do I mean by physical activity? So I go to the gym every single day, at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I don't go to the gym and lift weights. I go to, high intensity workout, otherwise known as a boot camp. And I'm currently injured. I hurt my lower back, so I've been off for like a week or two. So it's a good kind of timing for you to ask me that question because I'm just miserable. Not miserable, but I'm down. I'm not myself. I'm not, I don't have the energy I had when I go to work and working out in boot camp. So that boot camp in the morning at 6 o'clock to about 7 o'clock, what it does is it pushes me out of my comfort zone and I literally want to quit at some point every single time I'm in that class. And there's that point, that wall that you break through and you get through it, you get through it. And then at the end of it, it's 7, you create what I call an endorphin bank, right? So there's a bank account for money and there's an endorphin bank for, endorphins. So what I like to do is fill up that endorphin bank right out of the gates in the morning as fast as I can. And then what I'll do is I'll go to where I live is a spa and it has a steam room, jacuzzi and a cold plunge. And I spend about 6 minutes in the steam just to sweat and get all the pores cleaned out. Then I go into the jacuzzi for about a minute or two just to loosen up the muscles. I'll sit in the cold plunge for about 1 full minute. Go back into the jacuzzi just to get the blood flowing, really ripping back and forth, that hot and cold. And then I'll do about 7 dips underneath the water in the cold plunge to wrap up my circuit. From there, I go right into I lie down. I think for a few minutes. I reflect. I write down on my little iPhone. I have an app, the 5-minute journal. What am I grateful for? I'm reflecting on what I have in my life. There's a few things you write down. What do you want to get accomplished today? And then at night, when you go to bed, you kind of write out what you did, what you accomplished, and so forth. But what makes me happy is when I accomplish that workout. And when I moved here to Miami, this only started about a year or so ago, but when I moved to Miami, I was 179 pounds. And when I graduated college, I had a goal when I weighed about 165 to be 150 pounds again. This year, I got to 150 pounds through this working out strategy I just told you. And it changed my life. I can be in a depression over a stock. I can have an argument with my wife. I can be off base or off kiltered. But I find once I come out of that morning routine workout, my entire day is clean and I'm fresh. I feel good and I'm good to go. So I do that 5 days a week. And then on Saturday and Sunday, I'll either play tennis, or do some physical activity in the morning. So if you ask me that question, what makes me happy? I would say the working out and the happiness comes after the workout. It comes post workout. That really is something that doesn't cost a lot of money and just makes me feel good. And then I work on the monetary bank after that.
So you mentioned this has been going on for a year. What happened before and what happened? What was the switch?
Well, so I was a kid. I was a high school wrestler. I was a soccer player since I'm 4 years old every weekend for my life. So sports was always in my life. Once I graduated from college, I would still go to the gym and work out, with lifting weights. It was a form of therapy. The gym was always a form of therapy. But then I got into finance on Wall Street. And I started, working a lot, trying to get that gym in still, always trying to get that gym in. But you're in New York, you're sitting at your desk all day, you're eating steak dinners, but you're not really doing much, you're not moving much. It's very hard to shed body weight. When I moved to Miami, life changed a little bit. I started playing tennis every single day or every other day. But tennis you think you're working out, but it's not really a workout. It's fun. And you run, but you're not going to be shedding weight from it. You'll just maintain. So it was like 165, 168, just throttling through there. And then I had a horrible shoulder injury. And the doctor, this was 2 years ago, the doctor told me either, work out and build up the muscle around it or you need surgery. And I started going back into the gym very aggressively, but I wasn't doing any cardio. I wasn't doing anything to physically exert myself other than the tennis. It was, I would say, right around January of 2016, where the stock market had the worst January through February in the history of the stock market. It was like a mini crash. And I went through a very, very deep, I would say, mental crisis phase. I have a wife, 2 kids. If the market was going to crash again like '08, what was I going to do? And a buddy of mine just so happened to say to me, "Hey, Lonnie, what are you doing? Like in the gym, like you're working out like it's 1995. Like there's all these new routines and boot camps and all these, unbelievable workouts." It changed and I went in that direction. And that was the change that happened. So since that change about a year ago, I went very hard and very aggressive into this new style of working out. And that's sort of what changed it. It was a combination of a friend and timing of like the cold plunge part was just a matter of me being in a place in my life where like I would never have gone in a cold plunge ever. You couldn't pay me millions of dollars to do it. But because of that scenario, like I was in a bad place, I said, you know what? I'm reading about this stuff. I'm just going to do it.
It's funny you said that living in New York made things harder because for me, living in New York actually is when I lost 75 pounds and when I left New York, I gained it all again. But it makes sense that lifestyle makes a big difference. And then moving to Miami where I'm sure it's a little different. Just society in Miami is a little more image based. Has that been an influence at all? Or was that just parallel and it's more about your arm and fixing the situation?
So Miami is image based, but more than image based, it's lifestyle based. Mm. So like I'm standing here in my office right now and I'm looking at a body of water with boats rolling by me. I'll drive up the road. It'll be 8 o'clock at night. It's beautiful. There'll be people playing tennis, birds chirping in my neighborhood. So it's lifestyle. You want to be outside. You want to play. You want to be a kid, so I'm a 42-year-old kid. I'm the youngest I've been ever, since I've been a kid. Because it's a mindset, right? Like you could be a 42-year-old old man or you could be a 42-year-old kid. I choose to be a 42-year-old kid by staying active, pushing myself, working out, working hard. It just becomes the way of your lifestyle. And I would say that more than physicality wise. Yeah, you look good. It's a byproduct. I always say this when I talk about the endorphin bank. When you fill that endorphin bank, meaning you really push yourself in the gym, it fills up that feel good muscle in your brain. You feel good. And then you go to work and you work hard. And when you work hard, you fill up your bank account. It's just a byproduct. You might get that raise. You get noticed. For me, everything in life, if you're waking up early, and I reflect this in the book about the red beast, if you're slaying the lazy red beast early and you're bringing out the best version of yourself, which I call the blue beast, and that carries you through your entire day, straight till you go to bed, if you can just make that a habit and keep that going, your life is going to push forward in a much more positive direction.
Can you talk a little more about the Endorphin Bank? I think it makes a lot of sense, you coming from finances. But for those of us who are not as financial minded, what do you mean by the Endorphin Bank? How does it work? How did you come up with the concept?
So when you exert a lot of energy and do a lot of exercise, it creates a chemical in your body called endorphins. And endorphins are the feel-good chemical. That's just something that after working out, you create that. So the bank, what I refer to it as a bank is I made that up. It's the endorphin bank. I got to get all my chips over to the endorphin bank because throughout the day, you'll drain it, right? You'll probably have a 4 or 5 hour wave of endorphins that just keep you going at a very high sustainable level. Some people it goes even further. Sometimes it's a little less. But the endorphin bank is just referring to that 1 hour in the boot camp and the cold plunge is just creating and drumming up all of these, exciting chemicals that are, when you go into a cold plunge, it's not because you actually want to go and do it. It's not something that you want to do. But after you do it, it's sort of like your body goes into a state of fight or flight. And, after you have, probably, 20,000 years ago, we have a chemical in our body. If we were being attacked by an animal or something, right? And we survived that. You just felt good. Like, it was great. They even talk about it in war, like people who are in war and they dodge a bullet, they almost died or whatever. After they get this rush or what have you, and they actually want to go back on the front lines and fight again, right? It doesn't really make much sense, but that's the created fight or flight. So you actually do create that in the sense where your body thinks it's freezing, and it has all sorts of really, it helps with depression. It helps healing muscles. So there's so many other positive things about the cold plunge, but I do find that when I come out of it, it's just like you feel amazing.
So one of the questions that you should ask is, imagine if you couldn't do whatever makes you happy, but you started by saying that that's actually happening right now. So how does this work now? Your endorphin bank you're taking out of it. What is that like? How does it feel? How do you process that?
It feels like shit because I'm being lazy. I'm going to bed late. I'm not waking up early. I'm not in a routine. I'm tired. I know I'm not my most productive self. I'm drinking 5-6 cups of coffee to give me the energy that I usually need. Maybe 1 cup in the morning, if that. So I'm going to go, I took, a couple of weeks off. I'm going to go to the boot camp tomorrow. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to take it slow, but I'm going to start moving muscles in my body again. And I'm not going to lift heavy. I'll do everything very light, but I have to get back in the routine of waking up at 5:15, going to the gym at 6, doing my whole spiel. I have gone to the cold plunge, the hot, the last few days, and that's been good. But I definitely, without a doubt, feel different, without having that, that endorphin stream. It becomes addicting. And, it's easy. The easy route is to not go and not do it and not care. I mean, that's like easy, right? Like, oh, I'm going to spend time with my kids and my wife, and I'm going to watch a movie or catch up on a book, and go to work late. Like, but that's the easy route. So every single morning, I very consciously make an effort to do something very painful that I don't want to do, right? And then it's very hard throughout the rest of my day for bad things to happen to me because I've already got the worst of my day behind me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything you're doing right now while you can't do it, or is it just riding the wave until you're able to go back and working out?
So I do a little jujitsu too. I'm a blue belt in jujitsu. So tonight there'll be a boxing class and I'll spar a little bit tonight. I'll just do a little boxing tonight just to get the blood flowing again. I walk to the gym. I walk my dog, but it's not much. And again, I pushed myself to go do the cold and do the hot. So it's something. It's not nothing. I mean, if I was doing nothing, I just would get in my car and go to work. But so I'm pushing myself to start getting back into the routine. But I'm definitely a little bit off. I know my body now. I know my mind. I know the way I operate, but I'm going to get back on track starting today and get back into the routine tomorrow. I'm not going to let the injury beat me. I'm going to beat it. And most people will say, I'm injured, I can't work out. I know that if I start working out, the injured will heal. And actually, the more you work out, it'll build up a muscle and help it over the long run.
It's funny how once you get into it, I'm completely out of shape. But back then when I was in shape and I had some stitches, I just had like a skin situation, and my doctor was like, you can't work out for 2 weeks. And for me, that was torture. And just waking up and not being able to go to the gym was torture. So I can't imagine right now what you're going through. The thing I want to cover is you're talking about your kids and your wife. How has this affected your relationship with them since you started being more active?
I mean, it's a world of difference because, it's very easy to have a bad day at work and be irritable and snappy. And who do you take it out on most? Your wife and your kids. Why? Because they're with you the most. And when you're working out and you're operating at a high level and you're feeling good and your kids see that and your wife sees that, they start to respect that and they really have awe and they look up to that. And, once you start getting into a routine, it carries through every aspect of your day and your life. So if I feel good about myself, then I'm going to go to work and, I'm going to have a better interaction with my clients, with my colleagues, and with my wife and my kids because you have energy and that energy just feeds off other people. So you're bringing that positive energy to someone else. They're going to, feel it and be positive. If you're negative and that negative energy starts reverberating against people, their negative energy is going to come back at you. And that's what's causing fights and problems.
Have they become more active as you've become more active?
Yeah. My wife's a Pilates guru. She's very strong Pilates. My daughters, they both do jujitsu as well. They play tennis. They play soccer. They're very active. Being very active and athletic, I think, is probably the most important thing that I can give as a gift to my kids because it doesn't cost a lot of money to get out and play tennis and run around and have fun. It feels good. You interact, you socialize. So I preach that all day, every day.
How old are your girls?
7 and 9.
All right. So they're like, this is the age to get them into it and making sure that they set up a routine. They
know, I'm like, did you guys play soccer? Did they do jiu-jitsu today? I'm very, very, if they don't do it, they know that I get upset. And they don't want to upset me. They don't want to upset their dad.
I'm guessing also now that you're doing yourself, that has much more validity than a year ago when you weren't doing all this activity.
Well, they're only doing jujitsu and they're to play soccer because I was the soccer coach and they watched me do jujitsu, right? Like when people ask me about the work-life balance, I said lead by example. That's the best work-life example you can be. The work-life balance. You want to show your children and the people around you the way to have a good life. If I come home and I'm not working out, I'm lazy, I'm sitting on my couch eating Doritos, but yeah, I'm spending time watching my TV with my kids. I don't think that's a good role model. I don't think that's a good example. I'd rather spend less time with my kids because I went to jujitsu class and I came home and we had dinner and I read them a book rather than sitting there watching a movie eating Doritos. So that's my work-life balance. Lead by example.
And is there an activity you all do together as a family?
Yeah, of course. I mean, every weekend we go swimming together. You know, we go bike riding. We have a Friday night dinner together religiously. Saturday night I have with my wife date night religiously. But I keep those weekends, you know, I have a tennis match in the morning, but after that, the weekends are for the kids. Period. End of story. Whatever they want to do.
So I'm also a cyclist, so I'm curious about how's the cycling scene over there in Miami?
The cycling scene is good, but when I talk about bike riding, I'm talking about like, you know, I'll take my bike with the kids and just whip around the neighborhood.
Recreational.
Yeah. If anything, I would do some mountain biking, but I just don't have time for it.
Well, it sounds with your job and your family and all the working out, I don't blame you. You get a lot done.
Yeah.
So now let's reverse it. You mentioned briefly your colleagues and your clients, but how does this physical activity affect your business, being in finances and being such a competitive field? Has this made it better?
Yeah. So everything actually gets better. Everything gets better, right? Mm-hmm. But there's I noticed this about myself recently too. And it's very important to notice this. Sometimes those endorphin banks, they give you a full sense of illusion or full sense of self. So like I might maybe put a trade on for myself where, I think, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen in the market because, you know, I'm feeling so good, right? That everything is, you know, working out and then I feel great. It's a form of over self-confidence that can seep into my mind. And that quickly, you know, will devolve into, a bad trade or a bad situation, which will turn me into, you know, upset or angry. You got to be cognizant of that, you know, that feeling of that you feel so great, but you got to keep yourself in check and really, you know, keep your mind right where you don't overcompensate and think of things and start doing things that, you know, can end up getting you hurt and your family hurt.
Is there, for instance, that has happened?
I mean, for instance, you know, you'll come in finance, I'll buy an X amount of shares of a stock, which is more money than I should put into the stock, and it'll drop 3-4 points, and I'll lose some money, and I'll say, you know, what the hell why did I do that, right? Like, I didn't need to do something like that. It's just, I understand that was a mistake based on overconfidence, and, you know, that's the one drawback of like, you know, really coming in with a lot of energy and a lot of positivity. You got to channel that into the right areas. You know, instead of making that trade for myself, what I could have been doing is talking to clients, doing planning, you know, doing some financial advisory practice work, things that, you know, really enhance my life and my business versus trying to, you know, get a quick trade in or something like that.
Now, the opposite case, as you're talking about the good things that you could be doing, is there, for instance, of an example where that endorphin bank makes things better?
Everything gets better when you work out. Just understand that. Because when you push yourself to the limit, sometimes it's called a runner's high. You know, why do these people do these marathons over and over again when they're done with them, they say they're never doing it again. But then there's something that triggers in the brain. You have to go through life, in my opinion, almost as if you're a warrior. And being a warrior isn't like a sometimes thing, a maybe thing. You have to have the mindset that I'm going to be the best version of myself at all times. And when I get angry, the most angry I get is when I know I'm not being the best version of myself. And I think we all do that, right? Some people though, it'll be a little thing like some alcohol that'll move into drugs and then into, maybe a bad relationship and their wife have a fight, and then it just spirals downhill. You can't let a little spark start because it can manifest into a fire. So what you need to do is you need to maintain that warrior mindset at all times. And that's why I think it's so important. When you ask me what makes me happy, getting that workout in and feeling good after it, it runs through the entire day and it hits on everything else that I'm doing. And when I don't do it, when I don't work, I don't have a day off. There's no day offs. Life doesn't give you a day off. If I have a day off, it's because I'm traveling on an airplane or I'm sick as a dog. Otherwise, I'm trying to make myself the best version of myself. And that's a beast. That's why I wrote The Heart of a Beast. And not that I'm a beast, but I interviewed 7, 8 people to find out what they were doing because they were operating at such high levels. And you're doing the same thing. You're going around, you're interviewing, you're picking brains because you want to learn after each, interview something from each of your, the people, right? You're picking brains for you. And I did the same thing when I wrote the book and when I meet people. It's just we're all trying to get better. That's the end game.
Now, speaking of people and learning from others, you mentioned you learn about your current routine through a friend who said, "Hey, you're working in the past, come to new routines." Do you ever feel like paying it forward, or is there any time that someone's like, "Oh, I'm still doing the old school," and you say, "Hey, come here, let me welcome you into the 20th century of working out"?
Yeah. So ironically, that you said that, I had a situation where I live, there's a gym and like I said, there's a spa and they had classes throughout the day starting at 7:00. And I was going outside the island and paying for boot camps. And I said, "Hey, why is there not a class at 6:00 to 7:00? Oh, no one's going to come, da, 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 da." And I kept bothering the woman. I said, "How is that fair to people who have to go to work, right? There's young people who need to work and get a workout in." So she's like, "Fine, but you need 5 people. And if there's not 5 people, we're going to shut it down." So I started this class called The Beast. It's on the schedule Wednesdays and Fridays. It started as just Wednesdays. Then we got a Friday on the schedule because now there's about 15 people and they're packed, sometimes more. And, everyone's just going in there and getting after it. They know it's the hardest workout, but they're addicted to it right in the morning at 6 a.m. So that made me proud.
So you're running the class?
No, I led the class. I built the class and then they brought in a trainer to run the class.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And has there you got resistance from the gym, but have you ever had resistance from anyone who you were talking to them about becoming physical? All
the time. All the time. People are lazy. You got to really want it. And you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I lead by example. If a guy wants to start working out, I post a lot of Instagram stories, my Instagram feed, Twitter feed. They see I've brought a lot of followers on board in my neighborhood. And the winners rise to the top. The cream rises to the top. The people that want to make themselves better will find a way to do it. And that's the bottom line. And those who don't want to do it and don't want to make themselves better won't. You can't make them. You can't force them. You could show them the way. And that's what I do. I lead by example. If they ask me questions, I help them. I'm not going to force you to get out of bed and work out. If you don't want to, then be lazy. There's no reason though, unless you have a condition or you're sick, that you're not going out and getting after it. You're just being lazy. That's the red beast running wild in your mind, taking over.
When you started talking about what makes you happy, you differentiated between the physical happiness and the long-lasting happiness, the core happiness. How do those relate to each other? Does becoming more physical affect the money, the spending, the quick happiness, or are they independent?
Well, I mean, you have plenty of people that are overweight and out of shape and can still make a lot of money, right? Guys can work, all day and all night and just work, not work out at all, and have millions and millions and millions of dollars. I don't know if that makes them happy or not, right? There's plenty of people that have a ton of money that are miserable and depressed. So when I say there's the physical and then there's the monetary, anybody, if I put, $2 million on your desk right now today, you're going to be happy. I don't care what you say. It will make you happy. Whether it makes you happy because you're going to go spend on everything you wanted to do and travel the world and do whatever you ever wanted to do, or it makes you happy because you're going to give to your local orphanages and charities and church and synagogues and whatever it is you like to give to, and that gives you happiness. But money is going to bring you some sort of near-term happiness, right? But the problem is it's not sustainable. It won't last. Money alone doesn't bring happiness, right? So what I found was what does bring long, sustainable happiness is the physical exertion, the working out, the pushing myself, doing something that sucks every morning. And then what you're getting after that is something that's sustainable, those endorphins, those chemicals, those life just built throughout time that are thousands and thousands of years of evolution that creates real life, feel good chemicals that make us smile and laugh and all that. So I won't discount monetary though. I do work out hard. I do all that. And then I do that so that when I'm working at the best capacity so that I can make money, because I think that, we all like to take a ski trip. We all like to get on a dream we had and make it happen. I mean, give to our kids the life maybe better than we had. So money goes hand in hand. I'm not here to say, I'm not going to discount in the finance business. I think people, who are financially sound and stable, tend to have, not more happiness. At least they get stability to do things they want. But I know plenty of people that don't have a lot of money that are just as happy or not happier than people with a lot of money. And that's, again, they might just work out a lot and live their lifestyle the way they want to live under budget. So they just might not need a lot of money to survive. But, money is in there as a component though to, can't go to the boot camp unless I can afford to pay for it, so there's things in there that help.
Okay, Lonnie, now I want to move on to the rapid fire section. I have a few quick questions about what makes you happy, and I want your gut reaction. Are you ready?
Yes.
Who makes you happy?
Wife and kids.
What is the first happy moment you can remember?
Passing my Series 7 after college, right out of the gate, that made me feel like I was heading in the direction where I could actually have a career and start doing something that I believed I would be successful in. So,
finish the sentence. Happiness means
balance.
Finish the sentence. I'm happiest when
I finished a grueling workout.
And who is the happiest person you can think of?
My wife, Dara.
And can you tell us a little bit more about her, since you've mentioned her a few times?
Dara's one of those women who, I fell in love with her because the sun always shined. I could have a bad day, everything could be bad, and she could always find the beauty or the brightness in it. Sometimes we men think that we're invincible, but we quickly find out we're not. So there's something to be said about behind every man, right? There's a better woman. I think that a lot of the things that I do today, I may not have been as successful without having her behind me. And she's an unbelievable mom to our kids. Every marriage is going to have ups and downs and Chris's and crosses because parenting styles and all that. But she's got the heart of a warrior and a lion. So, I mean, you don't want to be in the game of life in the trenches with somebody who you're not sure has your back at all times. And, she's a woman that it's good to go to bed at night knowing that this girl's got my back no matter what happens.
And I'm smiling just hearing you describing her. So I'm thank you for sharing. Now, where can we find you if people want to learn more about you? Where can we go? And what else can you tell us about The Heart of a Beast?
On Instagram, at Gordon Wealth. A lot of pictures from my book. I like to do Instagram stories. A lot of fun there. Have a good time on Instagram. Twitter, been a little more active. They're picking up their game over there. Twitter, that's at Lonnie Ogulnick, LONNIEOGULNICK. And, my website for finance would be www.gordonwealth.net, GORDONWEALTH.net. Those are the best avenues to reach out to me or connect. A little bit about Heart of the Beast. This was an unbelievable portrayal of the last 20 years of my life, and even before that. And it's a blueprint and a guide for individual male or woman who might be stuck in a place that they're not happy, they're not feeling good, they're maybe in a depression or dark. And the reason why I say that is because when I graduated from college, right out of the gates, I went through a very vicious depression, went really dark. And through the darkness, we often don't realize it at the time, but you sometimes need to actually go through that in order to get to a much higher level. I'm glad it happened to me at 21. Sometimes it happens at 30, 35, 40 with family and kids. So I understand a lot about myself now. With that said, I put all the tips and little secrets and quotes and story about my life and others and how to get out of that hole and how to make the best version of yourself in this new economy where really things have changed. Climbing a corporate ladder isn't what it once was. Entrepreneur, making it on your own, making moves is much more prevalent. So I give a guide and a blueprint of both making the best version of yourself and how to become more efficient in the new economic frontier.
And I'm seeing it online. It's available on Amazon, and I'm guessing also in regular bookstores.
So I self-published the book through Amazon. I'm soon going to do an audio version of it. I didn't go the direct route and put it through bookstores just yet. I might do that at some point. But everyone buys their books today on Amazon. So unless I want to be in the airports, I don't know many bookstores in my neighborhood anymore.
Isn't it sad? But at the same time, it's a good opportunity for self-published books like yours to come to life. What moved you to write the book?
Well, again, like I said, I promised myself that I would write a book if I ever could, if I got out of that depression, for a blueprint for someone who's in it. There was nothing there for me, or at least I couldn't find it. The closest thing I found was a Tony Robbins book. But I also have a financial advisory practice where I'm a behavioral financial advisor. So I do financial planning and life coaching in the same practice. So, I have my Series 7, 63, 9, 10, 24, 65, real estate. So that side of the game I'm good with. I wanted to open up the life advisory practice a little bit and run a 2-tier track, combining financial and life advice into one practice, and that's where Gordon Wealth was born.
Lonnie, thank you so much for sharing about your happiness, about working out, about your book.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I had a great time.
Thanks, Lonnie, for sharing what makes you happy, and thanks to Charlie On, host of the Author Hour podcast, for making the connection. A special thanks to Jason Zappolo for editing this episode, Orlin Margulies for helping social media, and Rocio Castañeda for ongoing support. To learn more about this project and for past episodes, please visit thehappypodcast.com or find us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at thehappypodcast and youtube.com/thehappypodcast. You can get the latest episodes delivered to your device by subscribing to our iTunes, and if you leave us a 5-star review there, more people can find us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.